Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and welcome back to another episode of Left 4 Dead 2 Myth Busting Mondays. And in today's video for the final myth, we're going to be testing to see if whether or not it's possible for a bot, or a group of bots rather, to beat an entire campaign on their own. So instead of me helping them, I'm just going to fly with no clip and just spectate them the entire time and see if whether or not they'll be able to do things such as activate panic events or crescendo events, if they'll be able to proceed from the beginning to the end of a chapter, and see if they can also end up getting in the rescue vehicle and escape. If you guys end up enjoying today's video, please drop a like, subscribe if you are new, and if there is a myth of your very own that you would like to have us test in next week's episode, please by all means leave them here in the comments down below, or you can also leave them within my Discord server, which is going to be linked down below in this video's description. With all that being said, guys, I hope you end up enjoying this week's episode of Left 4 Dead 2 Myth Busting Mondays. Myth: does the fallen survivor's helmet protect his head from bullets? So myth number 1 is going to be submitted in by Rigamortem today. Now, since the fallen survivor is only a uncommon infected, what I'm going to do to gauge his health is I'm just going to shoot his head and compare it to a normal common zombie. So for example, when I shoot a common zombie, it takes me like a bullet or two, and now I'm going to go up to him and see if it takes any more, and it looks like it's the same, about a bullet or two. That was the case with the tier 1 guns. Now what about the tier 2 guns? So I'm going to end up taking an SG and shoot the common, and then I'm going to shoot the fallen survivor as well, and it's the exact same thing. And finally, when it comes to one of the strongest weapons in the game, that being the M60, is also the exact same thing for this weapon as well, just one bullet is required. So regardless of which weapon you use, the fallen survivor is still going to go down in the same amount of bullets as the normal common zombies. Meaning that myth number 1 here today is going to be busted. The fallen survivor's helmet doesn't give him any extra protection. He still goes down in roughly the same amount of bullets as a common zombie. Myth: will the witch die from 3 headshots of the op? Myth number 2 is going to end up being submitted in by Zaku. So I'm just going to be spawning in a witch on the passing here. I'm going to be shooting her in the head with the op. So I already shot her once to end up pissing her off, and then I'm going to shoot her again, and then I'm going to shoot her again, and now I'm already at 4 shots so far. I'm at 5 shots so far, and I'm at 6, etc., and it just keeps going and going and going. So we're not only well past 3, but guess what? It ends up taking me 9 headshots in a row to fully kill a witch on normal mode in order to end up putting her down. So myth number 2 is also busted. The op is not strong enough to be able to kill a witch in not only 3 headshots in a row, but it takes up to 9 in a row to fully finish the job. Myth: can a hunter beat the parish without touching the ground? Myth number 3 is going to be submitted in by Timmy here. Now when it comes to the first chapter of the parish, this was relatively easy because I just jumped on the rooftops constantly, and this chapter is really not that long. Chapter 2 is where it starts to get a little bit more difficult, but since the fact that there is things like the bushes that I can jump on, and there is still a decent amount of buildings left, I was able to navigate and find the path that I need to go. I just ended up taking the one that you're seeing here on screen. I will admit that this part was a little bit tricky because I had to do things like jump on the fence posts, and I also had to jump on the trash cans, because I am going to give myself the progression if I'm jumping on an item that's on the ground, but not touching the actual ground itself. And if I did end up missing, I would also give myself the permission to start all over from the last checkpoint I was at, rather than just starting the run completely over. Because if I had to do this in one go, this challenge would be very infuriating, and it really wouldn't end up being fun anymore. So for this part, I just decided to end up jumping on the fences once again, and since I have such a big leap, it was relatively easy to do, and then all I did from there was just skip the panic event and go to the safe room. Chapter 3 was a little bit more tricky though, because immediately from the gate, there is just this open piece of grass underneath of the highway. So I really wasn't able to do much. I was like, okay, well, maybe there's some loose furniture lying around, like maybe I can jump on a chair, or I can jump on maybe perhaps a couch, or maybe there's even things like the tires that I can jump on. But not really, because everything was so far apart, I wasn't really able to get anything going. So then I was thinking to myself, well, what if I just ended up using the actual highway instead? So that's eventually what I decided to end up doing. I just decided to skip trying to jump on the items and just go up to the highway. In my mind, the highway is technically not the ground, it's rather just above the ground, But to make you feel better if you think that this is cheating, I decided to also walk on the part of the highway that's technically not touching it. It's rather like the rail that's next to it, which keeps me a little bit off of the ground. And then once I just get past this little tiny part by using the highway here, I'm pretty much back in business from there and I'm able to proceed. And then it's just the standard jump on a building, jump on a car, jump on another building, jump on another car, and that just keeps going for a while until I end up getting to another part that is definitely tricky, to say the least. And that's the manhole part, because technically the manhole part goes into the ground. But then I thought to myself, you know what? What if I just go under the ground? Technically going in the manhole wouldn't be touching the ground, it'd be going around it by going underneath of it. You gotta have them 200 IQ plays, and this allows me to be able to end up getting to the impound lot, and then from the impound lot I do eventually make my way to the cemetery. And the cemetery is a lot easier to navigate through because you can just jump on the parts of the tombs. Although I will say trying to get to the cemetery at this specific part was definitely a pain in the ass because there's really nothing to jump on. I did end up using my crouching trick though from one of the prior times I tried to do the no touching water challenge. And if you crouch on the wall, you're technically floating because when you end up looking at the hunter in third person, his legs don't touch the ground, he's instead just on all fours. And this allowed me to be able to keep the challenge going. It was definitely hard. This challenge is not easy by any means. You have to use little tips and tricks. Like, for example, right there, I had to jump on the corpses that were just preset there within the map, and I don't necessarily count those because I'm jumping on the bodies, not the ground. And then eventually I end up getting into this chapter safe room. Now, Chapter 4 is once again a lot more buildings. It's more of the same like Chapter 1 was. I'm just climbing on fences, trying to end up doing some hunter pounces. I even did this one trick where you jump on the side of the ledge like I've seen survivors do to go backwards throughout the map, when technically that's a no-return spot. But this is where the run starts to fall apart, is specifically right here, right before the parade float step. Because right here in particular, even though there's little things like bodies and trash cans, the way that the corner just cuts to a very hard left and how narrow it is leaves literally no room to end up jumping on anything. So the myth's busted, unfortunately, because once you get to this part, you can't proceed. Going around it on the sides or climbing over the building is not an option because it's an out-of-bounds area and it's completely blocked off to even special infected. Myth: can bots crown witches? Myth number 4 is going to be submitted in by BMO. This myth's not only going to be quick, but it's also going to be hilarious because when I end up putting Coach in the equivalent of a saw trap, he ends up getting murked by the witch the moment I put her in there, because for some reason, he ends up not shooting until she's already starting to attack him, which just results in him dying in a hilarious fashion. So the myth is busted. The bots will not be able to end up crowning a witch, let alone practically kill the witch. Alrighty guys, and now it's time for the final myth, and once again it's going to be, can a bot, or a group of bots rather, end up completing a campaign from start to finish on their own, or would I have to help them for them to proceed? So let's load up a campaign, just any random campaign, let them fend for themselves and see if they sink or if they swim. Myth: can bots beat a campaign on their own? And the last myth of today's episode is going to be submitted in by Zoe. So I'm loaded up in a normal single player game, and I'm doing nothing but just flying around with no clip and just basically telling them where to go. That is the only thing that I'm helping them out with, it's just giving them a sense of direction. But shooting things, healing each other, giving callouts, all that is up to them. And everything's perfect until the very first panic event. Because as soon as we get to the ferry, it's like that they have a stroke and they don't know what to do. All they have to do is just interact with it. They have to basically just click E. And all they're doing is just standing there with their thumbs up their asses and doing nothing. And I was patient with them. I even tried to help them out a little bit by standing right next to the panic event. And they still chose to do nothing. So I just don't know if whether or not that they're just stupid or if they're lazy. Probably a little bit of mixture of both. Either way, the last myth is busted. The bots in Left 4 Dead cannot end up being a campaign on their own, or at least they just choose not to. So yeah guys, that's going to be the end of today's episode, but before you do click off though, I just wanted to mention one last thing. I wanted to end up giving a shout out to my friend Noah because he ends up having his own YouTube channel now. Noah has been one of my longest friends for several years now, and he just started up a YouTube channel, and he ends up posting a variety of different content, and I want to end up mentioning his channel in case any of you guys would be interested in giving him a watch. He ends up currently posting CS2 content and also content warning whenever he ends up playing with me and our other friends. So if you guys want to end up seeing some funny videos or just some unique videos, I will end up leaving his channel link in the description. I recommend that you check him out. Since I know that you guys are fans of Valve games as well, you can end up checking out his CS content because you'll probably like that the most. And in terms of this video, if you guys end up enjoying today's episode of Myth-Busting Mondays, please make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe if you are new, and leave a comment down below if you guys have a myth of your very own that you would like to have us test in next week's episode, or you can also leave it within my Discord server, which is linked down below in this video's description. And with all that being said, guys, I hope you end up enjoying seeing another YouTube video from the most unique YouTubers are ever going to see. Thanks for watching, guys. I love all of you, and peace out.
Hey, meme lords, Jesus here. And you better have enjoyed that video there by the eternal god Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too. And give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!